Genesis 37 reads like this. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob's family line. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the son of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph. So that you know, Israel is also Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. And he loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age. And he made an ornate robe of him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, listen, guys, listen, I had a dream. He said to them, we were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. Verse 8, his brothers said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more. Even more, they started to hate him because of his what? His dream. And what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. He said, listen, Linda, I had another dream. And this time, somebody say this time, the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, who do you think you are? Why is this? What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Verse 12. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, as you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them. Very well, he replied. So he said to him, go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me. Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering. Why was he wandering? Because he didn't quite know where to go, but he wandered. And the man asked him, what are you looking for? He says, I'm looking for my brothers. You see, they don't really like me that much, but I'm looking for them, and because my dad told me to make sure that everything was good with them, and I don't really know. You know, they always bully me when I show up. They always say, look at you. You think you're better than us, but you know, I'm just doing what I was told. I'm just going to find them, and I don't know where they are. He replied, can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks? They have moved on from here, the man answered. I heard them say, let's go to Dathan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dathan. Verse 18 says, but they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. Here comes that dreamer. Somebody say, here comes that dreamer. Come on, somebody say it again. Here comes that dreamer. They said to each other, come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. I want you to pay attention to that. Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns and say that a ferocious, yeah, made you look. A ferocious animal devoured him. Yeah, let's say that. You can end the music. Thank you. Let's say that he was devoured by a ferocious animal. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. I'm going to stop right there as we move over to chapter 39. And the only thing I want to look at in chapter 39 is the second verse. We'll get into it a little later, but I just want to go to chapter 39 and look at the second verse. It says, the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. Come on, the Lord was with who? So that he did what? And he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. Before you take your seat, I want you to turn to the person sitting next to you and those of you that are watching online, and I want you to type in the subject for today's message, and it is, I'm not afraid of the dark. I want you to tell somebody, go ahead, tell somebody, I'm not afraid of the dark. Come on, tell them, no, for real, I'm not afraid of the dark. I got a night light that don't nobody see. I got a light that shines that nobody sees, so I'm not afraid of the dark. And I want you to say this as you are seated. I want you to say this, am I really not afraid? Ask them that question, am I really not afraid? This is interesting. We all know or want to believe that we know every single thing about people around us, but we don't. People keep secrets. People keep secrets. People keep things to themselves that they don't want anybody else to know. But if you pay close attention, it's all revealed in their actions. Secrets are really revealed through people's actions on how they really feel, because when you hold something back and when you hold out on something, some information that needs to be said, it comes out in the most unfavorable ways. It comes out in the most unfavorable ways. There are many families whose secrets that they have kept from each other. We've seen it in movies. We've seen it in marriages in movies. Why did I get married? Come on, Soul Food, one of the best movies of the 90s. Soul Food, all of these family movies. And guess when all the drama happens? At the dinner table. Why do authors always write, or screenwriters always write these scenes to blow up at the dinner table? Well, because it's one of the most important times in a family, when you spend time with each other at a table, when you dine in with each other. But even at those moments, secrets get revealed. Things are being spoken that shouldn't have been said. Things that you probably should have took to your grave because you aren't sure of the reaction that you'll receive. Humans have a tendency to keep from others what we're afraid of. And it's not always the secret that we're afraid of, but we're afraid of losing the person we're telling the secret to. But the reaction is only as big as the light shed on this secret. The reaction acts as rejection, and nobody likes rejection. So this builds, and it puts the person with the secret in a deeper place of darkness, creating a darker place. Even when I look at the news only tell you what they want to tell you. I find it that national news will lie to you before local news. National news always has a secret that is kept so that it will leave you feeling in the dark. Feeling like there's something that is left out in this information. ABC ain't saying the same thing as Fox. Fox is saying a whole different narrative, and they're doing something, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But they say that in every mystery film. I know what it is, but I can't put my finger on it. Sounds like something my daughter Peyton would say. I can't put my finger on it. But we feel in that moment of not being able to put our finger on it that something is left out. It feels like there is a secret. It feels like they're holding back on truths. But when we look at the local news has nothing to hide because real people are everywhere. And there are more eyewitnesses in local news than it is national news. So the national news counts on you to take their word for it. So when you take their word for it, you believe it, but you believe it from a dark place. Although you told me, and although you have the clout that you need to be able to convey a message and put it in terms and ways that I don't understand, you use big words on TV so that I can feel insecure and believe that you are the one who secures me. But I'm still in a dark place. The underlying fact to all of this is that nobody is afraid of the dark because we're used to it. We're used to it. We're used to being in the dark. We live in a country that casts a shadow over its citizens to always keep you in the dark. The church should be the last place that people are in the dark. Why? Because Jesus is He's the light. He's the big idea. Bing! Light bulb, bigger than the light bulb, bigger than the sun. And that is what we have as our light. But when we forget that we have light, we live in the dark. My wife would send me to the store for an item that has a particular price. Well, she said it was a particular price. She said it was just $39.99. Until I go to the store, and without my research on my own, I go to the store and I'm hit with the surprise when I pick up the item that is not where it's supposed to be, and I ring it up. And it says $79.99. But you told me it was $39.99. Now, the issue that I have is it's not the price. It's the fact that you had me in the dark. I don't know anybody who loves to be in the dark when you are supposed to go do something and then you find out that, hey, this is not what you thought it was. I wish that I was not in the dark coming to Dallas. Everything about moving to Dallas was in the dark. I thought I saw it. I know what I heard. I know he said, come here. But it was still in the dark. Everything just kind of dropped into my lap as it was supposed to, but it was still in the dark. But here's the thing. Psalm 119, verse 105 says that he is, when I say you, I'm speaking to the Lord, but when I say his word is a light unto my path and a lamp unto my feet. But I find this interesting how this all leads us to a pit. And in the pit is dark. It's important to understand a cistern. And what is a cistern? Cistern from the Bible and our text that is here today. A cistern is used most often in areas where wells do not provide sufficient water or have historically produced water that is unsuitable for drinking. But this is interesting how we come into learning about little 17-year-old Joseph, how he has a dream that puts him in trouble with his own family. Genesis 37 consistently reminds us that Joseph's brothers were jealous of him so much to the point that when Jacob, their father, has something to say about his dreams, he's checking him instead of patting him on the back. He's giving him his rights and reading him his rights. The devil will use whomever he will against you to discourage you from dreaming. Joseph's dreams were aligned with God because he was the one that was speaking to him through the message of the dream. The Jacob sons, or Joseph's brothers, already interpreted his dream correctly. Why would you have a problem with something that's just foolishness? Because you understand the dream. You know what I'm saying, brothers. You know what this dream means before I even had a chance to interpret it. And then not only does little naive Joseph, you would say at 17 you ain't supposed to be naive. Well, you can when you are harmless and you are innocent. You can be naive, especially when you're a child of God. You are to be naive in the sense that I can't let the way they treat me make me move in a way that's not pleasing in the sight of my father. But they had already interpreted the dream, and his father says, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him. I told you we keep seeing it over and over and over and over and over again in this one chapter, that they were jealous of him. And jealousy will push people to do some evil things. But his father kept the matter in mind. He always kept it in the back of his Rolodex of events. Then there is a call to action. Jacob and his other sons, Jacob's other sons, went to graze their father's flock near Shechem. And Israel says to Joseph, who is Jacob, he says to Joseph, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them. Well, I got a question for you. Why would your father send you to a place to set you up for prison? What do you do when it's your family, more so your father, that sets you up for a downfall? Essentially, Joseph's father is sending him to his own execution. You know they don't like me. You know they always talk about me. I'm 17 years old. I had to deal with this all the way from 1 year old. They hating on me at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It don't matter what age I get, they're hating on me. They don't want nothing good for me. They can't stand to see me happy. They didn't even sing happy birthday when it was my birthday. How many of you know when people got a problem with you, they'll compliment you, but it feels like something that wasn't nice. It feels like the complete opposite. They might as well have said, "Oh, you ugly," instead of saying, "Oh, you cute, you clean, you fresh." You might as well say, "I'm ugly." You might as well say, "I don't match," because what's coming out of your mouth don't line up with your intentions. And I know that you don't like me, so why, Father, would you send me? Is there anybody that want to ask the Lord, Lord, why would you send me to a place where they don't like me? Why would you send me to a place where they're not accepting me? Why would you send me to a place where they won't even hear me? They don't even want to know what I got to say. They always got something to say about me. Why? Why am I always put in this position? Father, why did you send me to Dallas? Won't nobody come out? Look at all the empty chairs I'm looking at today. They're not coming. What are you doing? Why would you send me? Why would you give me this? And then make a way for me to keep this? Why would you send me to my execution? Because I feel like I'm putting more money in to what I'm doing here than when I was in another location. I'm probably almost better off staying home, but the Lord says, I'm sending you. Just as Israel sends Joseph to check on his brothers, who, by the way, it's more than one. So why do I need to check on a bunch of people that's older than me? Why are you sending me to check on them? I know they good. So what is your real motive? Now, Jacob is ignorant to the fact that, oh, they don't want to kill you, they just don't like you. So I'm sending you to just go check on them. And so Joseph agrees. He says, all right, very well, I'll go. And these have to be the thoughts that are in the back of Joseph's mind, because there hasn't been one moment that they've ever been nice to me. It says it in the text that they had not one good thing to say about him. Is there anybody in here who's witnessed friends and family members who have always had issues with you? Always, every time you turn around, they always got something to say. What Katrina doing? What Katrina go? Why she here? Why she over there? Why is LaShonda here? Why LaShonda over here? Willie, what you doing? Why you breathing? Why is you sucking up all the air? Why you that's enough food, you can't get seconds. Somebody always got something to say. Leave me alone. Somebody shout, leave me alone. But what I understand is this, is that being a child at the age of 17, he isn't expecting more than the average insult as he is going to check on his older brothers. That's a trip that the father sends the younger boy to check on the older boys. It's funny to me that the Lord sends a 17-year-old to check on the ones in their 20s. Yeah, I need you to go here, because what the Lord is doing, he's looking over it all, and he's allowing Jacob to be their father. He's allowing him to be the father. He's allowing him to take his authority and tell him to go check on, because the Lord has a plan and he knows exactly what he's doing. So what is the Lord saying today? You must get used to the bully. I don't care what this world says. I don't care how they feel about bullying. In my day, I sound old. Or let me walk old. My son's friends want to think I'm old. They think 33 old. You have no idea. Zion's friends probably think I'm old. Oh, your daddy old. Oh, they said I was 21. Praise God. Hallelujah. Praise God. But I ran into a lot of young people that think that this age is old. But what is interesting about it is that in my time, when I say my day, I mean like I grew up in the 90s. But in my time, even in the early 2000s, all through school, the climate was not as sensitive as it was. You were not allowed to be sensitive. There came a time where my father was like, boy, what you doing? I came in the house. I promise that's how every brown boy got an attitude back in the day. Just, man, what's wrong with you? They always talking about me. Say something again, I'm hit them in their face. Ain't. But when I walked in the house, because folks was talking about me, I got a big head. I realized my head is a little bit bigger than my body. Even now, it's still the same way because I need to go back and work out. I lost a lot of weight. What can I say? But they would talk about me. They would say, your head, your head's up, And I went home with my head down. Boy, what's wrong with you? They talking about me. Pick your head up. Go back to school, joke back on them. My dad told me to joke back. I joked back. I went back to school. And guess what? That helped make me who I am. Because there ain't a head joke that I've heard that's new to me. It's not. I say that because it taught me to take what the bully is saying. And in some cases, you could dish it back. If it had nothing to do with putting your hands on somebody, you could dish it back. I got so good, I went back to school. I was like, I got me a couple jokes. And I studied burning or joning. I studied all of these things, and I was like, okay, I got them. So I went back to school, and I got to joking, and I was winning. I was so funny that the dude that I was talking about, who talked about me, wanted to fight me, and I ran to the office, and they was just like, well, just tell them you don't want to fight. I said, what kind of school don't stop a fight? I came to y'all because I'm saying I don't want to fight him, and I'm the wrong person to fight because I wasn't scared, but I knew I wasn't no fighter. So I'm like, don't you need to do something about it? So I spent that whole day watching my back. Well, to my advantage, the dude that was after me, he was a little overweight. And it just so happens that although I had a big head, I had a small body, so I could move fast. So I'm telling you that the bully was needed. It was necessary. Not today. No. Not today, Katrina. Not today, Peyton. Not today. Folks, children come home. Parents don't say nothing. They're not paying attention to them. They just letting them do it. They go to their room and like, I hate my life. I hate my life. I hate life. I'm not going back to school. Get ready for school. I'm not going to school. Wake up. I am up. Get ready for school. I don't want to go. Mom, I'm not going. What do you think this is? You ain't staying here. But it was good for Joseph to go through because it was necessary. Somebody say it was necessary. Nobody has ever gotten over being bullied by being protected. I'll say that again. Nobody has ever gotten over being bullied by being protected. My father did not protect me when I was getting bullied, unless it was physical. It's a physical issue, then that was a whole different story. But folks talking about you, why are you letting words get to you? Why are you letting that dictate how, like, your life of living? What in the devil is cyberbullying? How in the world do you sit in front of a computer screen and read all these bad things about you and stay there? Turn it off! Delete, 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 delete. They don't even know you. Here's the funny thing about Joseph's brothers, they didn't even know him. How could you say that? They were his brothers. They wanted nothing to do with him. All they knew that he was favored, and so they kept their distance, and they decided that we just not gonna like him at all. Although my feelings may be hurt feelings don't kill. Come on, about it. Somebody say hurt feelings don't kill. They just bring you awareness. They just let you know the climate of the environment of where you have been planted. So Joseph locates them and they see him, and because of all the jealousy in their heart, they are moved to plot his death. This is interesting, to plot his death. That's a powerful phrase right there too. Plot his death. A cistern was a place where water would be and there was no light. A cistern just happened to be in the pit. I believe King James would refer to it as a pit or some type of well where there was no water. And they plot to put him there, and realizing that a plot is also a place where people are buried. They plotted his death, planning for him to die in this well or this pit with no food or no water. I had to reread it again because I was like, okay, they're plotting to kill him. How? They wanted to slow kill this man. There was no way out of the cistern, and there was no water in there. It could be hot. It's in a place that is already hot. There was no food. How would he get out? I started to do some research, and I looked at a cistern, and I saw all the modern ones, and then I saw some ancient ones, and I'm like, yo, ain't no way up out of this. It's big, it's empty. There's nothing to step on. There's no way out. But there are two brothers that are named out of all of Jacob's sons. There's Reuben, and then there is Judah. We've got Reuben who speaks up so that he can eventually come back around and save Joseph from the pit. Joseph from the other brothers plot to kill him. That was Reuben's whole MO, was to save Joseph from his brother's plot to kill him. They say in verse 19, let's throw him into one of the cisterns, one of the empty places where there is no water, and say a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see how his dream will come true. So now Joseph comes to the cistern. He's thrown in. They've made up their mind. They know what they want to do. Reuben has threw a wrench into the plan. And then Reuben leaves. It doesn't say it in the text that Reuben leaves, but we know he leaves clearly because Ishmaelites show up. Come on, 37. Ishmaelites show up. That's right. And as they show up, they begin to see all of the wealthy things that are on their camels, how they pull up with all the myrrh. They pull up with everything that looked good to them. And so as they're getting ready to pull up, there's a caravan, this same caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Verse 25, their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, what will we gain if we kill him? What are we really gaining if we kill him? What's coming from killing him? Why should we, after all, I mean, he is our brother. Oh, now you care. Now you can, now I'm your brother because you see that there is a way for you to benefit off my demise. Now I'm your brother. Now you use the right pronoun. Ooh, watch this. He says, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hand on him. After all, he is our brother, our flesh and blood. His brothers agreed. Verse 28, so when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. They took him to Egypt. How many people have been sold into captivity by your family? How many of you been given up on because they saw a way out? They saw a better. Everybody you let in cast you out and left you by yourself in a pit. Right when I needed them the most, I was left alone. You didn't realize you were fighting to be loved in a place where you were free, but the relationships caused you to live in a mental prison. I thought I was good when I was at home. But really, the environment was full of toxic people. And in order for me to live my best life, I must be thrown into a pit. I must be thrown into a cistern. I must be thrown into a well. I must be thrown into a dark place. And as soon as you realize, you'll be able to live out the truth of the title of this text. I'm not afraid of the dark. Come on, somebody say, I'm not afraid of the dark. Come on, somebody shout, I'm not afraid of the dark. Yeah. Stop giving your heart to people who don't know how to handle it. Stop giving your all to people who don't know how to handle it. Joseph was in a place where he was comfortable with discomfort, but the Lord was saying, I am with you wherever you go. And here's the thing, I wondered this for the longest. I wondered this as I was reading this story over and over and over again. I was wondering, okay, now why would you go to a place where they don't like you? I understand that you're trying to be obedient. I understand that you're leaving your father's house and to do what he said, but couldn't you just tell a lie and come back and be like, oh, they said they cool? Couldn't you just see them from a mile away, be like, y'all good? Because they saw it from a distance. They was like, oh, look at the dreamer. How dare he? Let's kill him and then we'll see what makes of his dreams. But instead, they're right there, he's right here. If it were me, I would have said, hey, Judah, Daddy said y'all good. Daddy said y'all good. Huh? They were like, come here. What? Come here. What? Come here. Huh? Come here. And this is what I do, because sometimes I'm lazy like that. I walk up just a little bit just to see their face. They be like, come here. No, I just want to make sure y'all good. And then go back home and be like, Daddy, Judah and them said they good. And that would have been it. But no, Joseph, guys, hi guys, how are you? Dad said to come check on you guys and make sure everything's good. Bloop, thrown into a cistern. Because he was gullible and he was easygoing. And I said, hey, why, even after they took him out, he heard the conversation. Can you just imagine being in what feels like a giant toilet bowl and looking up and seeing both of your brothers? Can y'all just put two fingers up like that and just... These two fingers are two of your brothers talking. And that's you at the bottom looking up like, guys, I can hear you. Oh, see, y'all, they gonna sell me. But they pull him out. And now I'm looking for Joseph to get his Tomb Raider on. I'm looking for him to turn into Blade and just like, even if you can't fight, Joseph, run, Forrest, run. Let them try to catch me if they want to. But Joseph, he says, no, I'll just go. If you guys don't want me here, I'll be sold. I'll go. And here's where it hit me. Even though he did not put up a fight, he could have ran or did whatever he needed to do to escape, but he stayed because in his naivete, in the act of being naive, his dream was still alive. His dream was still alive. You may leave me alone. You may discount me. You may count me out. You may think I'm no good. You may think I'm not able no more. You might think I feel like I'm better than you. You might feel what you feel, but my dream is still alive. It's still alive. So even though I'm being tossed to and fro, even though I'm being sent to the prison, even though I'm being sent to the county jail, even though I'm being sent to where I feel like I don't belong, but I really do belong, the only thing that's keeping me going is the fact that my dream is still alive. That's why we don't have time to fight back. That's why I don't have time to turn around and say, but you did this, but you did that. No, you get in the cistern. No, you get in the pit. I don't have time for that because my dream is still alive and it cannot come true if I don't go through. Reuben discovers the disappearance of his little brother, and the other brothers take the robe that Israel gave him and killed an animal and just dipped Joseph's coat in it. They said, let us know. And this is what they said to Jacob. They said, let us know if this is your son's robe. Y'all still got a problem with me and you sold me. Now is the time that you should be showing me fake love in my absence. Why? Because you sold me. You made it look like I got killed. But you really sold me. You know I'm really alive. And even though you tried to kill my dreams, and you did it just because my dreams were bigger and better than yours. See, this is why you got to watch out with telling your dreams to different people, because some people will begin to work in opposition to what you dream. They don't want you to be who you said you'll be in the dream. They don't want you to be everything you plan to be. They don't want you to carry out your career goals that are aligned with the will of the God, of the Lord. They don't want you to be successful. So they dream for you. They say, I'd rather you remain low-level supervisor. I'd rather you remain just a little manager. I'd rather you remain team lead. I don't want you to be the CFO, so I'm going to do whatever I can to put you out of the way. But what they didn't realize is that their first initial plan to kill him was the best plan. The devil, you should have killed me. You should have never let me live out of COVID. You should have never let me, you should have never, but then I think about it and he didn't have no choice. You can't touch me. You can afflict me. Hello, Job. You could have afflicted me, but you can't touch. You can't take my life. Somebody shout, you can't take my life. My dream is still alive. And I realized that I still have a purpose, because even though Joseph was operating and moving out of what seems to be naivete, he moves in the way that he moves because there's a lot of truth to his dream. Oh, there's a lot of truth to his dream. He's saying to himself, I know that they don't like me, and I know that this is wrong. I know, but there's something to my dream. There's something about my sheep that was standing up, and I know that they were around me for some reason. I can't afford to fight back and lose control, because if I fight back and lose control, I just might die. Joseph just might have died if he fought back. Joseph might have not made it to Egypt, to Potiphar's house, into the second pit. Here he is in a place, in an environment that really is a pit. Living with his brothers, that was a pit. I see three pits here. His home, the cistern, and Potiphar's house. Three different jail systems. The scripture lets us know that these brothers didn't share the same mom. They had different moms. And they proved their love for their brother through the use of these certain pronouns. And they tell their father, look at this robe, see if it's your son's. Don't we do that when we get mad at people? We don't like to say their name. Him who will not be spoken of. Him who shall not be named. She know what she did. He know what he did. They always doing that. They. This is what happens when your mind has transition. When your mind has transitioned to a place where it should not be, your mouth begins to speak what's in your heart. And they have already chose to disconnect Joseph from their relationship status. He's not my brother. He's not my brother, he's your son. Because they still didn't like him, even though they got rid of him. When it comes to taking pictures, We see the big picture of this situation. And we could take a snapshot because all of this are pictures. Pictures speak what? Volumes. Pictures speak 1,000 words. That's crazy. It's like a known statement. Pictures speak 1,000 words. I have been captured by photos. I've been captured by photos throughout my life, whether it was a picture from my grandmother's photo album back in the day when you see all them sepia tone pictures. You know them sepia tones? They be like red, like all the pictures look pink. They got a little tone of eggshell. It's like a hint of vintage mixed with sepia tone colored pictures. It's like, oh no, that was a blue shirt. It looked pink. All these photos in this album, but they all tell stories. What makes a great photo? What makes a great photo? What makes a great photo is composition and light. But after you have light, you must have good composition. The composition is important in a photo because it is responsible for the narrative of a photograph. It tells the story based on the position in which the camera takes a snapshot. Who and what is larger, more colorful, or more brighter? The purpose is to create an image that speaks as the viewer looks into it. When we watch a movie, we don't always get to judge it off of the preview. We judge it off of the poster. Have you ever judged a movie off the poster? Come on, Netflix is notorious for this. You'll watch something and every time you go back, every other month, there's somebody who has a job who's responsible for changing the display picture. A movie that you kept on passing by, you start to notice it even more because they put something that is screaming at you as the new profile photo. There are old movies with new movie posters. How? Old TV shows that have been off TV now, they're number one streaming in the country. Why? Because they change the photo. And when it changes the photo, it gives you a different perspective because of the light and the composition. Before composition can be appreciated, a photographer must have light. The light is the most fundamental element of a photograph because it illuminates the scene that we look to capture for our timeless photos. This is what year? 2023. And in your pocket is the most accessible photography device. I believe it was 1839. Henry Fox was the inventor of the first way to make something called film. It was called film because there was a whole process to get the picture out of the strip. Y'all remember back in the day, them wind-up cameras? Then the little flash. Don't let your finger be in the way. Have you ever had your finger in the way of the flash? And then you're trying to figure out when you get the pictures developed. They're like, what picture is this? That's your thumb. Why you ain't move your thumb? How your thumb in the photo anyway? You took the picture. The time where you had to put your eye in it, you really had to use the viewfinder. These cameras had a roll of film. In fact, do you remember loading it? Open up the back of the camera, And then you used to have to pull out the first part and stick it into the other winding part of the camera. And then when you close the door, you have to wind it up so to get to that first picture. And then you snap it. And what's happening is that the flash is capturing the image to the strip. And so this was the early way of capturing photos. The best way to develop film traditionally was to use a dark room, almost completely dark except for a red light that was called a safe light, so that you could properly deal with the light sensitive film strips. This is a preferred method of printing today over digital printing. There's always better quality in things that have a proven process. Always. But the thing about this capturing of images, the only way to be developed is through a dark room. See, digital is fast. Digital is like, it's like drug money. It's fast. You can make the money fast, it's quick. But it doesn't have the same quality as money that is made legit. So over time, there's a process. And with this same way of capturing, as we've captured this picture of Joseph being caught and sold into slavery, he lands at Potiphar's house, where we see him have favor with the Lord. He's captured. And he finds himself in a dark room. And this is where you have to find yourself while you're in the dark room. I don't even want to go into 39, but I'll just go with that first verse. That's the first verse that we looked at, is verse 2. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. It means that he was in slavery. He was enslaved, but he was free. He had more freedom in slavery than he did when he was free. Because here's the thing about the people who don't know the Lord. They may not be outright evil, but there's one thing about it, is that they will give honor where honor is due. They will respect what needs to be respected, especially when they realize that the hand of God is on your life. And when you are in the building and everything becomes blessed, that it's because you are there. This is what Joseph did when Joseph was in Potiphar's house. It says in the text that Potiphar knew that the Lord was with him. When his master saw that the Lord was with him in verse 3, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. My father didn't do that. But I thank God for my father. This is Joseph talking. I'm grateful that I'm in this place. I'm grateful that I'm in a space where people notice the hand of God on my life. I'm glad that I'm in a place, even though I'm enslaved, I don't feel enslaved, but I'm favored, and everything my hands touch, it prospers. So the devil is always given his allowance to do what it is that he does best. When you find yourself in a comfortable position where the Lord has put Joseph in a county jail, there he has favor with Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's captains. He has favor with Potiphar. And Potiphar sees that I can, look, man, I love you, man. Like this, you going somewhere. I mean, you might be enslaved, but you're still going somewhere. He says, I love this man. You can have control over everything in here. The only thing I'm going to concern myself with is what I'm going to eat, because I trust you. Potiphar puts him in charge of everything in his house. From the time he put him in charge of his household and all of that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. Sometimes you may look up and you may see, well, why does it look like the devil is winning? Why does it look like everybody that don't know you, Lord, is winning? It's because you're there. Oh, these devilish people are successful because I'm prosperous. Oh, it looks like everybody around me is doing well, and I'm okay right now, but I'm not in the best place because I'm still enslaved, but I'm still good because the Lord is with me. And just like the devil, again, he's giving the allowance that he's given because the Lord does not want Joseph to get comfortable in a place where he's not supposed to stay. He allows the enemy to get busy. He allows Joseph to go into a situation where he is tried and tempted and tested of the devil, where Potiphar's wife is like, come lay with me in my bed. And he's like, nah, I'm good on that. You might be cute or whatever, but I know better. Potiphar has entrusted me with everything in his house. Why in the world would I turn around and ruin it by messing with you? And then let me give you the real reason Potiphar's wife, because she don't have no name. Trifling, that should be her name. Miss Trifling Potiphar. Let me tell you the real reason, because I don't want to sin before God. That is my reason, but on top of what I already told you, I'm not about to mess up. It's like Day. You don't come around here and get me in trouble. You always get me in trouble. You don't come around and get me in trouble. You don't, I got to live here, you don't. You will not get me in trouble. I'm in a good space. Why? Potiphar's wife? Come on now, Miss P. Come on. Don't do that to me. And after he tells her that, it says one day. Because that means he was successful. He wasn't even looking her way. He was like, nope, I don't see you. No. Oh, she in the kitchen. I don't need that. I believe Joseph would see her. He would be on his way to the kitchen, get him something to drink. He would be like, every time I come in the kitchen, you in the kitchen. Eating up all the pig feet, all the hog maws. Why are you here? He's avoiding her, but then the Bible says one day. She already knew he was avoiding her. She said one day she just pulled his cloak. My boy said, rape! Yeah, that's right. Joseph was about to get raped. He was about to get taken advantage of. So he beats her to the punch and he leaves. And then she plays the victim. This is a good place to stop, because I just want to tell you that the Lord will always allow the enemy, give the enemy his allowance to do his job. To do his job. What is his job? Oh, to push you into a situation where it elevates you. where you take what's coming. We read at the end of the text that she tells this to Potiphar. Potiphar rages in anger. And he throws Joseph into a prison. But there's that phrase again. But the Lord was with him. And Joseph found favor in the eyes of the prison warden and put him in charge over everything that happens in there. He went from freedom, imprisoned, all the way to county jail, where he was in jail, but he was treated well. And now, all of that gets ruined off of what? A lie. We see a lot of lies going on in this text. We see the lies that were told of Joseph's brothers. And then we see the lie that gets him kicked out of Potiphar's house and into the prison. But one thing we got to know through all of that is that Joseph learned to not be afraid of the dark. Because all of this is a dark place. Where are you? All of this is a dark place. And we have to have the allowance of the light shining in our lives. So no matter where we are in the dark, we can always see ourselves. We can always see other people. We can always look at the situation and the circumstance and say, I'm not afraid of the dark. I can see, and I can see that this is a season where I'm moving higher. I can see that this is a place that's going to take me to the next level in you. I'm where I'm supposed to be. I can't die here because my dream is still alive. It doesn't end at Potiphar's house. It started in the cistern. It started in the well. It started in the dry place. It started at a place where I didn't know what was happening. I was left out. I was in the dark. Even though I trusted the Lord, I was still in the dark about it all because I did not know that I would be sold into slavery. I didn't know that this was going to be the beginning of a spectacular life where I'm able to save the same people who tried to kill me. I'm better for it. I'm better for it. Somebody shout, I'm better for it. Come on, somebody shout, I'm better for it. I'm better for it.